Welcome guys to another video. This is day 2 of the TryHackMe's Advent of Cyber. And if you haven't seen day 1, and if you would like to see it and follow along, you can click around somewhere. Yeah. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. Last time we did save the gifts, and we're still doing web exploitation. And okay, so let's open it up. I will be reading the stories and pretty much everything else. So this is for beginners. So if you're not a beginner, go ahead and skip to wherever you need to skip to. But if you are a beginner and you want to follow along, I do encourage you to do so, and I hope that I can try to explain as much as I can as I go along. This is meant to be educational, but I might not always remember things correctly since so let's get started. The story. Let's make it bigger like that. Hopefully this is big enough. If not, maybe like that. Is that good? Maybe a little bit more. I think that should be good. Max, Kitty needs to check if any other employee elves have left or been affected by the Grinch industry attack. But the systems that hold the employee information can have been hacked. Can you hack them back to determine if the other teams in the Best Festival Company have been affected? So the learning objectives for this day 2 is understanding the underlying technology of web servers and how the web communicates, and to understand what cookies are and their purpose, and to learn how to manipulate and manage cookies for malicious use. So HTTP, HTTPS. For your computer and a web server to communicate with each other, an intermediary protocol is required. This is where the HTTP, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol, is introduced. The HTTP protocol is a client-server protocol to provide communication between a client and a web server. HTTP requests are similar to a standard TCP network request. However, HTTP adds specific headers to the request to identify the protocol and other information. When an HTTP request is crafted, the method and target header will always be included. The target header will specify what to retrieve from the server, and the method header will specify how to retrieve that. When retrieving information from a web server, it is common to use the get method, such as loading a picture. When sending data to a web server, it is common to use the post method, such as sending login information to the server. Okay, so I think that's pretty straightforward. The get method gets information from the server, and the post method sends information to the server. So an example request, this is the header right here. This is your, so we want to get from the root, I believe, using HTTP version 1.1. Host is going to be TryHackMe, and this is the user agent, which is usually your web's browser, and referrer. I'm not sure what the referrer is. Once the server receives the request, or a request, it will send back a response, including any requested content if successful, and a status code. The status code is used to tell the client browser how the web server interpreted the request. The most common successful status code is 200 OK. So this is an example of the response. So we have sent this request, and now the server is sending us back this response. And the first thing that it's going to send is the status, which is going to be HTTP version and 200. That means that everything was okay. They found everything fine. The server, so this is the type of server that we're dealing with, the date that it was executed. The content type in this case is going to be text or HTML, and the length of the message, I believe, is just this length of the message, without including this, because yeah, I think that's what it, because it's the content length, right? So in this case, it's going to be sending us the web page. So this is just pretty much the text that we're going to be reading, and the web browser is going to be interpreting this HTML code into what we see usually. So it's going to render all that in pretty I can't think of the word. Anyway, the protocol itself is only a small piece of the puzzle. Once content is retrieved from the web server, your browser needs a way to interpret and render the information sent. Web applications are commonly formatted in HTML or hypertext markup language, rendered and stylized in CSS or cascading style sheets. JavaScript is also commonly used to provide additional functionality. In today's web environment, the use of web frameworks has significantly increased in popularity. Most modern web applications use many web frameworks and other web solutions that an end user does not see or interact with. For more information about HTTP requests, methods, and headers, check out the Web Fundamentals room. And we can actually go there right now. I believe I already did this room a while back. So if you do want to try this room at some point, it is free. And you get to do this little mini CTF. Teaches you pretty much what we're learning right now, how everything works, how websites load, HTTP, what it is, different responses. There's like different, there's more than just post and get. I don't know if they talk about that here. Yeah, so you can check that out. So cookies, we're going to be talking about cookies. So HTTP is a stateless protocol. When you send a request to a web server, the server cannot distinguish your request from anybody else's request. To solve the stateless problem and identify different users and access levels, the web server will assign cookies to create and manage a stateful session between client and server. Cookies are tiny pieces of data, metadata, or information locally stored on your computer that are sent to the server when you make a request. Cookies can be assigned any name and any value, allowing the web server to store any information it wants. Today, we will be focusing on authentication cookies, also known as session cookies. Authentication or session cookies are used to identify you and what access level is attached to your session. Below is a diagram describing assigning and using a cookie from the initial request to the session request. So we start off by the browser, us initiating a request. So we are gonna be logging into TryHackMe, and it's gonna send a post request with the username and password. And once the server gets it, it's gonna process that, and based on your credentials, is going to say yes or no. Once it decides that everything is correct, is gonna send us a response. This case is going to be an HTTP 200 OK, and it's going to set a cookie in our browser. Remember, cookies are locally set, so we as the users keep them in our browsers. So it's going to send that information, and then once we want to access any part, like for instance here, we want to access the admin portal, we're going to be doing a get, and we're going to be sending our information to the server, and then it's going to respond again with, if we can actually be, I guess, if we're admin in the portal, is going to say yes or no. So to begin the process, when you send a request, such as a login request, your browser will send that information, typically a post request, to the web server. The web server will verify that it received the data and set a unique cookie. As previously mentioned, cookies are arbitrary, and values are determined by best practice or the web developer. Once the cookie is assigned, as long as the cookie stays locally stored in your browser, all future GET requests will be automatically sent with that cookie to identify you and your access level. Once the server receives your GET request and cookie, it will locate and deserialize your session. Deserialization is the process of taking a data format such as JSON and rebuilding it as an object. If successful, the web server will reply to your request with a 200 response. Status OK. Now that we understand what cookies are and how they are used, let us dive into their components or contents. So essentially, this is what a cookie is made up of. All of this stuff. The most important things that we need to consider whenever we are working with cookies is the name and the value. Also, the domain and the path. Those are usually the ones that we care about mostly. Sometimes we may care about these, but not really. We do care about this sometimes. We care about how long that cookie is going to be stayed relevant before it dies, and we don't have access to that information anymore. So there's 11 different components, and you can find an explanation of each of the components in the table. So the name is going to be a unique cookie identifier, arbitrary set by the developer, always paired with the value component. So you'll see, but these are usually key value pairs, meaning that we'll see that in a bit. So an example would be a session ID, that's the name, and then the actual value would be this string. So the unique cookie value, arbitrarily set by the developer, always paired with the name component. Originating domain of the cookie, set the scope of the cookie. So in this case, it's going to be the TryHackMe domain. And then the path, the local path to the cookie. Sorry. This sets the scope of the cookie. So I guess the root. I'm not sure about that one. And so on and so forth. Looking at all the components of a cookie may seem intimidating. Yes. There is no need to worry as attackers. We only need to concern ourselves with two components, the name and the value. The rest of the components are handled by the web browser. Cookie components are always prepared in pairs. This is the key value pair I was talking about. And you can see that down here. So in pairs, the main pair is name value. This will define the name of the cookie and the value of the name. The second pair is the attribute value pair. This will identify an attribute of the cookie and the value of the attribute. Below is an example of what set cookie syntax looks like. So there's the syntax that the server is going to be using when we start a session, when we log in into TryHackMe or any other website. So we got the cookie name and the value, the domain and the value, and some other stuff, which is this stuff right here. So if it's secure, it's only sent through HTTPS. S stands for secure. Otherwise, if it's just HTTP, it's not secure at all. And anybody can see that information but that's for a later topic. So cookie manipulation. The cookie manipulation is taking a cookie and modifying it to obtain unintended behavior determined by the web developer. Cookie manipulation is possible because cookies are stored locally on your host system, meaning you have complete control over them and modify them as you please. To begin modifying and manipulating cookies, we need to open our developer tools. In Google Chrome, developer tools are known as the Chrome developer tools. And in Mozilla Firefox.
Here is some information for what is the developer tool in Chrome. According to KC.
Thank you, Google. You gotta love Google. Okay, where were we before Google interrupted us? In Mozilla Firefox, they're also known as the Firefox developer tools. So developer tools can be accessed by pressing F12 or Control-Shift-I. Once the developer tools are open, to access your cookies, navigate to the Storage tab or Application tab in Firefox. In Chrome or Edge. Select the Cookies drop-down on the left-hand side of the console, and we'll actually be doing that in a bit. Cookie values may seem random at first. However, they often have an encoded value or meaning behind them that can be decoded to a non-arbitrary value, such as a JavaScript object. From an attacker's perspective, you can decode the cookie's value to identify the underlying objects. Once you have identified the underlying objects, you can modify them to what you want. To use the cookie, you will need to encode the cookie back to the original encoding and replace the cookie value. Below is an example of a decoded cookie value. So this is an example of a JSON. You can tell that it's JSON by the beginning squiggly line or bracket, and then usually their key value pairs as well. It's got the name of the field followed by a colon, and then either a string or a numeric value. And if it's true or false, it's just true or false. If it's a Boolean. They're also separated by commas, and if you would have the square brackets within here, then that would mean that it's an array. But that is for some other day. So in this case, this object is telling us that there's this object contains a information about a person, and we have the first name and the last name, which is John Doe, and the age and the eye color, which is blue. Okay, that's useful information. So for instance, sometimes you may have flags that people might set here that would tell you if you're a super user or an admin or the account ID for whatever you're trying to do for whatever account, right? So if you change those values, let's say that there's like a field called security level or something like that, and usually they're like A, B, C, or D, with A being the highest. I think it depends on whoever programmed it, but if the lowest is D and you just change it back to A, then now you have all of a sudden admin rights in a sense, because you can change that. You have manipulated that value and you have tricked the server into becoming. Hey guys, Sorry to disturb the video, but if you're liking this video so far and would like to support my channel, please go and check out my store. If you don't find anything you like from my current selection, feel free to let me know and what you would like to see, and we'll try to add it as soon as we can. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of the video. Being a super user or an admin. So yeah, that's why you should never, as a developer, have those things, like right there in a cookie. Now that we have all of the pieces of cookies and how to manipulate them, we can put them all together to gain unintended access. Below is a summary of how cookie values could be manipulated. So first, you want to obtain a cookie value from registering or signing up for an account. Number 2, decode the cookie value. And we'll see how to do that probably shortly. Number 3, identify the object notation or structure of the cookie. So is it a JSON file or a JavaScript object, or what is it? XML? Change the parameters inside the object to a different parameter with a higher privilege level, such as admin or administrator, like we were talking about right here. So yeah, you just change those parameters and then you re-encode it and send it back to the server. So re-encode the cookie and insert the cookie into the value space. This can be done by double-clicking the value box. Number 6, action the cookie. This means that this can be done by refreshing the page or logging in. So you're sending that to the server. Additional resources. So for more information about HTTPS or HTTP and cookies, check out these other rooms in TryHackMe. So let's look at these real quick. HTTP in detail. I don't think. Oh, we've done this one as well. So this one is actually a free room if you want to try it out. So anybody with, you don't have to pay for this one. And let's see, I have not done this one. This one's called Authentication Bypass. This one is only for subscribers. So if you do want to do this one, you need to be a subscriber and pay whatever the fee to be a subscriber is, and you'll get access to that. And if you ever get stuck solving this challenge, we can always go here to the walkthrough video. But okay, so we are gonna get started, and this is what we see. So we are in, let's see, can we zoom in a little bit so we can see it bigger? All right, so this is a login page for Best Festival Monitoring. So we need to hack back into the system, and oh, this actually stops it. This works. Cool. So open the website or tab. So we've done that. Register an account and verify the cookies using the developer tools in your browser. So we gotta register for an account here. So let's just say that our name is George. Our password is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Sure. And our email, don't ever have an email, a password like that, 1234 or 0000, 0000, or password. That's really bad. So yeah, never do that. Anyway, so let's just say george@gmail.com, and let's create our account. Oh. And what happened here? Uh-oh, you don't have permission to register for an account currently. Please contact an administrator for more assistance. Okay. So we try to create an account here, but it didn't let us. Now, and actually, you can actually see here some information about the registered user, which is George, the password, which is password, the email, which is the Gmail that I gave, which is not my real thing. But let's press F12 and you see something pop up. So let's go to application, and I'm using Brave at the moment, which is, I believe it's Google Chrome. It's derived from it. So we go to application, and we want to go to cookies, which storage right here. So we want to expand that, and we see, I don't know if can you see that? Good. Okay, and we have right here a cookie from this website right here, Static Labs, TryHackMe, that cloud. So we click there, and we see some interesting stuff. We can actually see when it expires, which is going to expire 2021, 12/13. So the 13th at 8:13 and whatnot. The size is that. We don't really care though about all this information. The only thing that we care about here is the name and the value, right? So let's go back over here and see what they are asking us. So we registered, and we are using the developer tools, and it says, what is the name of the new cookie that was created for your account? Well, the name of that is user-auth. So, and press enter. And there we go. That was correct. If you ever need a hint, don't hesitate to get a hint. So if you didn't know how to get this answer, it gives you a hint here for that. So it says, even if you cannot register an account, data may still be submitted on the backend. Check your cookies. So it's telling you to check the cookie like we just did. Okay. And to check it, obviously you go to F12 on your keyboard, go to application, go to cookies, expand it, and select the domain that we are in. And there is your cookie. Okay. So what encoding type was used for the cookie value? Okay. So this is the value right here. So we can actually edit the value and just copy that. And now we have it. Right off the bat, I can tell that because there's letters and numbers, and they don't seem to go above F, or which one's the highest, F or E? I think it's F. Yeah. That means that it's a hexadecimal. But if you didn't know anything about that, how would you know? Well, let's go back here and click this hint. and it tells you to use CyberChef to decode the value, which we were going to do something similar. Anyway, so CyberChef is a pretty cool tool. If you don't know about it, now you will. CyberChef. And should be the first one, I believe. And here it is. So as you can see, we have a lot of stuff here that we can do. We can format data. So it can go from whatever it is to whatever, like, for instance here, if we put in something like hello, and we drag to, well, maybe not that one. Let's do 2 hex. It's gonna make it into hexadecimal. But if we do from hex, it's gonna interpret, it's gonna say, okay, this is a hex. So it's gonna turn it into, I believe it's ASCII. But anyway, so let's put this in there. And I believe magic, if you don't know what this is, it'll tell you automatically. So here, if you didn't know what this was, you could use this recipe called magic, and it'll look at the input here, and it'll give you an option here and what it thinks it might be. So here it says, okay, use from hex, because that's gonna, you know, it actually does it here, and it tells us that it's valid UTF-8 encoding. So it pretty much tells you what it is. Like, okay, if you didn't know it, now you know it's a hexadecimal. So now we can actually just click here, and it gives us this output, which is what this was encoded. So cool. It says company, and it's the best festival company. And it's got a Boolean flag here. Oh, I guess they're using a string for the Boolean. Is registered, and it says that we did register. So, but it's not giving us access to it. And it's got our username here, as George. Okay, cool. So let's go back here, and now we can answer this question: what encoding type was used for the cookie? And this was hexadecimal. Okay. What object format is the data of the cookie stored in? So what format is this? This is an object notation format, but which type? If you only knew what object notation was, we could go here and say, okay, well, it's giving us JSON. What is the meaning of object notation? So it says JSON, JavaScript object notation, is a text-based, human-readable data interchangeable format used for representing simple data structures and objects in web browser-based code. And it gives you, I guess, an example, kind of. So now we know it's JSON. Okay. They named it as programming language, which is not a programming language. JavaScript is, but not JSON. So we can go now here, and if you notice here on the format answer that they have, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 stars. and JSON has 4 letters. So that's a little hint right there. Also, check the hint. Type of object notation. So if you didn't even know that what object notation was, by looking at the hint, you'd be like, okay, object notation. Then that would prompt us to Google that, right? Like we just did, and find out it was JSON. Cool. So those are a few hints to know how to come up with the answer if you don't know it. Okay, so hopefully that's helping you. So manipulate the cookie now and bypass the login portal. What is the value of the administrator cookie? User. So it's telling us here to change the username to admin, and then to provide that value and put it here. And as you can see, it's really long, and they don't give us a hint. And if you remember that the value of the cookie, it has to be, if we go back up here, re-encoded, right? So we have to re-encode it. And we know from here that what encoding we need to use. That's hexadecimal. So this should be a hexadecimal answer. Okay, so let's go back to here, and actually not here. Let's cut this or copy that. Let's do that and get rid of this, and let's change that into admin. We don't need to copy it. We just need to format it or encode it. Actually, we're just going to do format because that's where it is. 2 hex. We want to use now 2 hex because we have the string and we want to make it into a hexadecimal. So we just use 2 hex. Right here is going to give us spaces. We do not want spaces, so we just say none right here, and we copy that information. And now we go back here, double click the value to start editing it, or you can just right click, edit value, and then we can edit the value. And you can see down here that the cookie value is now changed. We just changed it completely. So we have this new thing now. Now what do we do? Well, what is the step here that they talked about to action the cookie, right? And what does that mean? That means to send that to the server. And how do you do that? Well, by refreshing the page or logging in. We cannot log in, so we need to refresh the page. So we just go here, refresh the page, and voila. That changes to that. Before we actually close this window, we want to paste that there, submit that, and now they're asking us about the team environment, which is not responding. And I guess we can just close that now because we're inside. We have successfully hacked ourselves back into the monitoring dashboard. So I'm guessing the red means that it's not responding or failing. So HR. And if we don't know, it's like indicated by the red status symbol. Okay. So now we know. So what is the network warning? That is usually yellow. So it tells us they're yellow. And that was application. Boom. All right. So if you want to learn more about authentication bypass, which is what we just did now, by changing the cookie value from the username value from our username to the admin username, we bypassed the authentication process because we didn't have to put in a password. We didn't have to do any of that stuff to actually gain access as an administrator. So we bypassed the authentication process. And that is why you should never have something like that in a cookie if you're a developer. So anyway, if you want to learn more about this, you can go here. I don't think I've done this one, and it's not free. You need to be a subscriber, I believe, to be able to do this one. So, oh yeah, this is the same one we just looked at. Okay. So if you do, I would recommend you to do it. Tasks released each day get progressively harder, but are still guided with walkthrough videos. Come back tomorrow for day 3's task, where Insider PhD will be recording a video walkthrough. Interesting. Cool. So there you guys have it. We have successfully completed day 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this was educational and entertaining. If you like this video, go ahead and click that like button. If it was of value to you, click that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. I know a lot of you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel. So please subscribe if you like this video and if you want to see more like this. And make sure to click that bell icon to be notified whenever I post new videos, which I'm going to be trying to post. These videos are going to be 25 videos. So I'm going to try to do my best and post every day, which is going to be hard. But I've been doing it successfully so far, staying up pretty late and sleeping really not a lot, but yeah. Anyway, I hope you liked it again. Share this video with others if you think it's going to help them, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day or night, wherever you are. Thank you.